Kirby Air Ride. October 2001. The Kirby anime started airing in Japan, just a little before Smash Bros. Melee was released to the public. At the time, I was serving as chief director of the Kirby series, which meant I wore a lot of hats, including overseeing the anime. This was at the height of Smash Bros. Melee's development too, so it was a tough ask. We also had several Kirby games in the works, one of which was Kirby Air Ride. The proposal was penned by yours truly, of course. Let's start with the game's concept. You might wonder why I decided to turn Kirby into a racing game. Well, we needed a more robust game lineup to coincide with the anime, and I determined that a racing game would be quicker to make than a traditional action game. The main series was already getting a powered-up port of Kirby's Adventure with Nightmare in Dreamland, as well as Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, which was handled by another company. There was even a GameCube Kirby title planned for release. Sadly, the GameCube version ended up getting cancelled. I've spoken before about the game essence I thought up for Kirby Air Ride, but I'll save you the searching and run through it again. While considering ideas for a racing game, I started with the assumption that drifting is fun. In a real-life race, grip driving produces a much quicker method of turning, but there's something uniquely pleasant about drifting. As for why drifting is fun, it's because it offers both risk and reward. It's thrilling to lose control with nothing but walls in front of you, and it feels great to get through that successfully. So, how do you make that even more fun? Just making the drifting faster won't quite cut it. By charging up after you break into a drift, you get that sense of squeeze and release, which I thought might just boost the fun factor. I also thought the game shouldn't be about striving for perfection. There is game essence to be found in shaving tenths of a second off your time, but I wanted to create a broader design where players didn't converge on one method. This is particularly clear in City Trial. Players can explore a huge sandbox area where the differing power-ups and stadiums make for a unique experience every time. Instead of encouraging perfection, a major concept of that game was expanding the possible play types. By the way, this was where I first introduced the checklist feature. This was before the PS3 and Xbox added trophies and achievements. By completing objectives, players can see the clear conditions for any adjacent squares. I did this to provide a sense of accomplishment even when just casually playing the game. I should note, Kirby Air Ride is unrelated to the cancelled Nintendo 64 Air Ride, and their game essence differs as well, though it's possible that game sparked some ideas about what might work or might not work. The Nintendo 64 version's essence was more in line with that of a snowboarding game. In my role as the chief director of the entire Kirby series, I oversaw a wide range of work, but I tried my best to leave that work to the people responsible for it. With Air Ride, however, I was directly involved in almost every aspect of the game. With graphics and sound in particular, we really had to nail that Kirby feel, so I had a lot of very specific feedback. Unfortunately, the ever-important gameplay was stalling. After a year of delegating the development, not even a single warp star worked right. At the direct request of the lead programmer, I returned to my past role as director and we rebuilt the game from scratch. We hashed out new specifications, and in 3.5 months, Kirby Air Ride was finished. That's incredibly fast, but keep in mind that assets like courses and machines were mostly good to go. And importantly, the dev team really stuck with me to the end. They were surely exhausted from all the work that had come before, but their full continued effort is what helped us reach the finish line. By the way, each Air Ride machine is unique in the final product. It's not just that some accelerate faster or get through curves easier, they feel totally different. But they actually all have the same underlying behavior. There is a difference between the star and bike types, but all the other variations were handled via parameters. Thanks to our reworked game code, we were able to change characteristics just by tweaking a few numbers. I wrote all these parameters myself, as well as the design specs that preceded them, business as usual. Even now, Kirby Air Ride continues to be a very popular game. There's game essence there you won't find in other titles. And even putting my own feelings aside, I'd say its personality is hard to beat. Just like that, the Kirby anime had ended and Kirby Air Ride was completed. My job done, I chose to leave HAL Laboratory and go independent. Since I designed and directed the game, I consider Air Ride to be one of my creative works. But the same isn't true of Nightmare in Dreamland or Amazing Mirror, which released at similar times. Amazing Mirror especially wouldn't have been possible without the work of Flagship, the company that made it, though of course I did help with supervision on both titles. And there you have it. Next time in the game concepts category, I'll be talking about Meteos. Stage clear.